Hey guys, it's Illusionist Jason Bishop. I am back discussing another piece of magic. In this instance, it's from the Siegfried Roy show that took place at the Mirage. This particular piece is one of my favorite pieces of magic, hands down. Top 3, top 5, top 10, whatever. I don't know what my top illusions are. I do know some of them, and this is one of them for sure. I don't really list them and take the time to do that, but I always think of the illusions I love the best. This is certainly one of them. So if you have a definitive top 3 or top 5 or even top 10, you can comment below, tell me what that is. I'd be kind of curious to see what people love in particular and why they love it, if you want to say that. But if you just list them and say what they are, I'd be curious to see that. This is definitely one of my top illusions. I think it's so well thought out and dramatic and dynamic and so smart and original and interesting and uses different methods. I'm a big fan of this particular piece of magic. So this show that Siegfried and Roy were doing at the Mirage was sort of the culmination of their entire career. They had worked on cruise ships together and then hotels. They had the show at the Frontier, and they had done shorter shows, frankly. This was a pretty long show. I don't know the running time of this show, but I'm sure it was well over 60 minutes, probably beneath 90 minutes, something like that in the 75-minute range. What's interesting about this show is that I actually studied some of this when I was in college. I was a theater major. I never graduated, but I did take a ton of classes. I took acting, history of theater, makeup, scenic design. I took lighting, costume design. When I dropped out of college to go on the road, I realized I had taken a lot of classes, frankly, in theater, which was really cool. I wish I'd have paid more attention because later in life, all of it made sense to me, but I wasn't really paying attention when I was in school, so that was a bad mistake on my part. But I want to show you something because this is something that we studied actually. So this is the page of a legit designer, John Napier. John Napier has done productions on the West End. He's done for opera, Broadway shows, did Cats, Les Mis, Starlight Express, Jesus Christ Superstar, just a bunch of really high-end quality, well-known productions. And if we scroll down, we can see it's for Siegfried and Roy. It's produced by Kenneth Feld, who is also Ringling Brothers producer, I believe. You can see conceived and created by Siegfried and Roy and John Napier. And over here you have designed and co-directed by John Napier. This is the influence he had. Now this is a hyper quality production because there's Bernie Eumann. Over here you've got arranged by Michael Jackson and whoever this gentleman is. So there's a lot of quality contributors to this. And one thing I learned as a student in theater is that theater is a collaborative art. So you can see all of this collaboration. In magic, we often wear a lot of hats ourselves, and so we're doing all the costume design and we're doing all the sewing and we're learning the trick and doing the choreography and all of this. And as you see people get better and better and better, you see them sort of delegate that work to other people. This of course can be expensive to bring in a choreographer, director, costume or buy better costumes from better places, what have you. And you think as people get better and better, they add on to that. That's true, but also if at your foundation maybe you utilize people who know more than you, then maybe you just get better more quickly. So which came first, the chicken or the egg on that one a little bit? That deserves a little bit of thought for sure. And down here we see this gentleman down here and we see a guy floating up here. You see this pyramid breaking in half and you see some sort of trussing scenic elements over here. This is a bit vague. I mean, it's not incredibly vague because it's actually somewhat specific, but it's still a little bit formless here. And you know what? That's how their show is. I would say that this actually embodies the scenic design of the Siegfried and Roy show fairly well. But as we scroll down, we can see that is exactly what they made. They literally made those elements come to life. So you can see how John Napier and his team designed a look for the show, and then that look became reality. I mean, that always sort of blows my mind, is that somebody just draws this stuff, thinks it out, talks it out, dreams about it, sits down for hours and conceptualizes it and is collaborative with the artists and other artists, and they come up with some drawing like this, and then it becomes reality and it goes to the scenic design fabricators and costumers and all this and becomes actually reality. If we look at these guys here, this sort of character designs that John or his team has done, if we move up, we can see that actually is what they created. They did exactly these characters in prosthetics and costuming and what have you. And if we scroll down, here we can see a mechanical dragon. He's breathing fire. We've got these capsules that Siegfried and Roy would be captured in and crushed in and escape from later on. And this basically came to life. I don't think it looked exactly like this in the final version that they put on stage, but it's pretty darn similar, frankly. You can see the origin of it. Here's some more of the character designs for costuming. In this, we've got this sort of double sphere here. We've got a guy in a full lotus folded leg position here, and he's floating through some fire right there. We've got a light special on here. That's kind of an interesting thing. I wonder if that's a magic thing, actually. That's kind of interesting. We've got, is this dude protecting him by sending out these light beams, which, you know, maybe that was an element they were going to put in the show. I don't ever remember light coming out of Siegfried's hands, but it would have been cool, you know, and maybe John Napier was like, can we do that? And they were like, no, we can't do that, and we're over budget already. But as we scroll down, we can see, look at this. There's the ring. There's fire coming out of it a little bit right there. They had a little more at different points, obviously. And then there's Siegfried in exactly the same position that we saw up here. Here's Roy, hands up, floating. There's Roy, hands up, floating. So it always fascinates me that a design like this, a scenic design drawing, actually becomes reality and ends up on stage. Not always, obviously, because productions don't always make it to the stage as such. But if we scroll down a little more, we see this. These are called, these are specials. All right, so these lights, these individual sort of pin lights here are called specials. They're lighting one particular area. In this case, every single special is lighting a cat inside of there. This guy's not even lit, which means that, you know, I mean, he's probably lit with a front wash, but it means that he's like less important than these things, which, you know, sure, if you're going to make whatever 10 tigers appear, they're kind of more important at the moment because they're going to be the focal point. They're going to be a little more interesting to people. So again, we have this set design here. We've got a lighting truss up there. We've got this. It's kind of formless. We see the stars going off into the distance here. We've got this half sphere right here with the tigers and lions inside of it. And if you have ever seen much of Siegfried and Roy's show, then you know I'm gonna scroll down right now, and there is the half sphere that they designed. This sphere here is absolutely amazing though. Siegfried and Roy look great. We've got this sort of formless theater. Again, we don't know where it begins or ends. We've got all the specials that John did up here in the drawing. And the trussing actually up here is even less visible down here. It's interesting. It makes the theater, again, more formless. We're like, where does the theater begin and end as such? You know, and Siegfried and Roy talked about this a little bit, that I think it was more so Siegfried said, you know, they wanted structures, they wanted set pieces, they wanted soft goods, which are like curtains and things like that. And so Siegfried lamented not having more access to scenic element, and then later on ended up having a cutting edge show that utilized light as the scenic element. And that's very interesting. And light can be used as a scenic element, so you don't always have to be upset that you don't have a big soft goods and big cool curtain. Maybe you can utilize light, maybe you can utilize a curtain. You just have to do what you currently have to do, and hopefully later on, if you get a show like this, you can do some sort of a new design element that just blows the world away with how cool it looks. And their show blew people away, that's for sure. Here's some of the little characters that we saw from John Napier's designs. There's the dragon again. That's pretty good. Over here on this point of the dragon on his nose, his horn here, we had, I believe Roy did a impaled illusion where he spun on the tip and then fell through. Again, I never got to actually see the show live. I kind of, it's a big regret of mine that I was never actually able to see Siegfried and Roy's show live. And there's the scenic design of it actually right there. That's really cool. And I think it's really interesting to note that a production as good as Siegfried and Roy utilized really sophisticated designers to make the show as good as it could possibly be. So if you ever saw the show in Vegas and you went, these guys are geniuses, they put all this together themselves. Look, they're great performers. They had to okay it. They had to be okay with it. They had to perform it night after night after night. But theater is a collaborative art, and you have to bring in music arrangers and costume designers and scenic designers and a great stage manager and production manager. When you reach a certain level, you just cannot do it yourself, that's for sure. But as Siegfried once said, he also couldn't get sick because, you know, 150 people under him needed him to be there so that they had a job that day. So there's definitely a lot of stress on somebody like that for sure. So we're gonna watch this piece of magic right now. I've been talking for quite a while here about this, but again, one of my favorite pieces of magic. It is Backstage with a Magician, as done by Siegfried and Roy, and we're gonna take a look at it right now.
You remember, Roy, when we started in show business? That's the way how I had to be dressed to be a magician.
Yeah, but that was then, and this is now.
This is now, so let's get more comfortable, will you?
Good idea. Always try to steal the show, you know?
Right. The illusionist to get along with Roy, I'm telling you. You know, sometimes people come up to us and say, Siegfried and Roy, how did you do it?
Like make an elephant disappear, right?
Well, Roy by himself would be too much. And I by myself, maybe not enough. Well, Roy, we can explain the audience how we make an elephant disappear, but maybe we show him an illusion which we did years ago. What do you think of it?
Good idea. I love it. Because finally, this audience is going to see what I have to go through to make him look good.
Oh, thank you very much. We meet in the...
That's so charming too, and it's charming too because it's true in part. You know, the partner on stage, the assistant, if you will, what have you, they do a lot of work. They do a tremendous amount of work, and it's like that old saying, like, be like a duck, you know, smooth on the surface but paddling feverishly underneath, is that when you don't see certain elements of an illusion or what other people are doing, they may be working very, very, very hard to accomplish that illusion. And if they're doing a good job of it, you're not going to see that. It's going to look smooth. So it's charming, and it's true that they said that. And I think it's really insightful of whomever wrote this script to have just that little element there as a setup. Let's keep watching.
That's the magic. So let's have a peek behind the scene.
Our old stage set.
Well, that's the way how it looked from the back.
And this is the way we looked from the back.
All right.
You know, I mean, it's a little cheeky, right? It's a little cheeky joke right there about how they look from the back. I mean, you can hear there's some women in the audience that definitely love that. I think that's a great addition, frankly, that cheeky little joke like that. It's just personable. They were two attractive enough looking guys, and so they have a little bit of sex appeal, and they're pointing out that they have that sex appeal. I think that's totally okay. Obviously, some magicians would think, oh, that's a good joke, I'll use that. That's not your joke to use. Don't use that joke. Come up with your own thing and let it organically happen, or sit down and, you know, write out something that you think is funny. Try it. If it doesn't work, then write out something else and try that. But I think that is I like that little joke right there. There's the ladies like you.
What we did, I walked up the staircase, like here. Roy, you hide behind this board, right here, like you always did. Yes? Hide behind it. All right?
See, here we go again. He takes the bow, and I have to hide in the back.
Introducing the magical act of Siegfried and Roy.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold an empty box. There is nothing below, there is nothing above. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, especially for you, I am going to make Roy appear right in front of your very eyes. Roy, get in. You okay? Okay. Now, maestro, drum roll, please. Now, ladies and gentlemen, behold, Roy. All right. Well, that's how we used to do it, but today we only say Zarmoti. All right. And if you wonder about Royce, of course, he's in the audience with you. Come on!
In a show like ours, sometimes a split of a second. That's where you have to count on your best friend. And the animals and Siegfried are my best friends.
How did you do that?
That is such a tremendous illusion. I love that illusion. And it's interesting because I remember watching that when I was first getting into magic. And you know, people always say, I watched that 100 times. I don't know how many times I watched it, but I watched that trick a lot of times. It might have been 100 times. And you know what? I never realized how short, how sort of brief that trick is. I mean, it's almost as long as just the setup where they talk up front. That's sort of the impact that it left on me, is that I remember that. I love that trick. I loved it the first time I saw it. I loved it every time I watched it. I love it watching it now after not having seen it for years, I think, at this point, frankly. I love that trick. It works on so many levels. You know what's so interesting? It's a big illusion. And generally in a show, people either are sort of funny or charming or whatever, or they do a big illusion. And it's almost as if they've put so much work, so much money, so much effort into the big illusion. and it's such a serious thing in their life, that they have to be serious about it. And you know what? When you reach the level of Siegfried and Roy here, that's not even a big illusion for them anymore. It's like a moderate-sized illusion. I mean, in this same show, they made an elephant appear and disappear. They had this big, dragon come out and crush them and breathe fire and all this kind of stuff. So this was a massive show. I mean, they made one lion appear there. Later in the show, they make, 10 tigers appear basically at one time. So they don't even have to look at this necessarily as a big illusion. I don't know. But regardless, they transcended this idea that the illusion has to be, just super serious and all of that. They made it completely charming, a little bit funny, personable. And this is a type of illusion called backstage with a magician. It's where it's in the sucker trick sort of genre, where we lead the audience down one way and we do show them a possible technique to an illusion. Now, would that trick really work the way it was done there as the backstage element? Not particularly, honestly. It'd be very angly. You'd see what's kind of going on. It's not great that way, but it's cute to see from behind. And so it's a neat trick that way. It's a neat performance that way. And then, once you think you really know exactly where we're at, he pulls the carpet out from underneath you, and we have a lion there. We don't know where Roy's at, and then Roy appears in the audience. It's funny, it's charming, it's cute, and then it is jaw-droppingly amazing. I've seen people I know make big cats like that appear and walk them on the stage, and it's a visceral response. You're looking at this thing like, that's unbelievable. I mean, you barely see these things ever, and now someone's walking around stage with it. And a big, huge male lion like that on stage, I mean, it would take your breath away. I never got to see their show, like I said, unfortunately, but, it's such a great trick, like I said. I mean, it's beautiful, it's different. I think that's the only one of those that was ever made, so you wouldn't see that performance in somebody else's show. You can only see that at Siegfried and Roy's show. I'm glad I got to share that piece of magic with you. I really enjoyed watching that. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching that as well. So I'm looking at the screen here because I'm just kind of almost daydreaming as I talk about their show. I really wish I would have gotten to see their show at the Mirage. So today, Shin Lim performs in that very theater. So it's really cool that magic is still there. I mean, Shin Lim is such a really tremendous talent and great magician, and I know Siegfried and Roy saw one of his first shows that he did at this theater, and I know that Shin was, really, it was an emotional day for him to have them see the show and then come backstage and talk with him for quite a while, actually, backstage. That's my take on this particular piece of magic. It is Siegfried and Roy's backstage illusion. It wasn't done poorly in any way technically. They were super comfortable doing it. They had a little bit of biographical information in there, which always is of interest to the audience in small amounts. They were funny, charming, cheeky. They look great. Their dress, the way they're costumed as such, is just perfect. I mean, Siegfried had this sort of older magician thing, and that set up the trick, because he was saying this is how he used to dress, and he had this sort of tails, white tie look, and Roy obviously had this way more contemporary, a little bit more flair to it costume design, and it just all worked perfectly. That is a fantastic presentation of an illusion. Love it, love it, love it. I love that I could go down memory lane and see this from when I was a teenager, first learning about illusions and magic. And if that was a new piece for you that you've never seen before, I hope you enjoyed it as well. And maybe it sparks more interest in illusions for you. Audiences absolutely love seeing illusions on stage. There's no doubt about it. They love super high skill manipulation. They like comedy. They like a lot of different things. But if you're doing illusions at a high level really well with your personality involved, then you're picking good effects that are deceptive and fooling and amazing more so, then your audience is going to appreciate that and really love it as well. So if you're interested in illusions, learn about them, and a place to learn about them. No, but if you want to learn about magic or you need a new magic trick for something, there is a link below in the description box to Vanishing Ink. This is an online magic store for beginner, intermediate, and advanced magicians as well. This is an affiliate link, so if you click anything and buy it, then it does help out our channel a little bit, and I appreciate that. But do not feel compelled to buy something. If you want something, do it. If not, don't feel stressed about it. If you enjoyed this video, please destroy the like button. If you want to see more, then hit subscribe to subscribe, and hit the bell if you'd like to get notified. Thank you for watching this, guys, and we will see you in the next one.